I always feel like, especially throughout this very crazy year, we're in this kind of lull period where everything is more insane than it would normally be. Like there's been weird stuff in years past, there's been crazy stuff in years past, there's been things I haven't enjoyed, times where I felt like someone had let's just say not measured up to what I would have preferred or done. But I never felt truly deprived of something um for the sake of deprivation. And I'm not going to try and give you some giant monologue while I wait for people to pour in here. I'm just going to tell you what happens just before, in case this person returns. At the end of July, so I've been paying 300 a month just to stay here for the last since May or June or whatever. So, so really since the summer. But at the end of July, after paying this person 300 a month as per normal, my salary of zero, they asked me for a favor. They called me into their room. I got kind of nervous because they won't say what they want at first. It's kind of making me uncomfortable when you have this whole like secretive thing. Just it was weird. But they came to me and they said, "Hey, I'm having some trouble getting the amount I need for my for the rent this month. So can I get a loan from you of $500?" Now, I think it is absolutely insane to ask somebody for 500 bucks after they just gave you 300. Just it would be like if you were a tenant somewhere and they said, "Okay, every month you have to pay $400 to stay here." And then after you pay the 400, "Oh, by the way, I don't have the money for this other thing. Can I get 900 too? I'll pay it back. I promise." They're like, that's why it just came off the strings. But I said, "You know what? If I do this, maybe the person genuinely needs it." And I had no reason to believe that they wouldn't pay me back, right? Because I'd never been asked by them to loan them something before. So I give them the amount reluctantly, and I'm talking to this other person, and this other person says to me that they bet they know they're entirely convinced that this person that received this money, they're not going to pay me back. And I didn't necessarily push back on their belief because I'm never really truly surprised by anything at this point. It's just all depravity. But I said, I've never done this with them before, so maybe they will. I can't imagine they could just do something like that and get away with it. Um, so around the same time, I had this car insurance that ran out, and the new one I got was under the banner of this person, I guess affiliated with the same company, and it was $78 a month. So altogether, I was paying 378 to both stay here and for the car insurance. For so these two things together are a little bit under $400. Now I get a message on Saturday morning. It's actually right after my last stream ended, and this person says to me, "Let me see where it is." Mm, they wrote a lot of crazy stuff after this, but they say to me, uh, the car insurance is starting over. The down payment is $436. It's already pending to be debited out of my account. So give me 200. I'll talk to the lady on Monday to see why it increased so much. Now, when I hear this desire by this person to receive $200 from me, my mind immediately flashes back because I originally left when they tried to charge me 500 a month after they threw a butthurt rage fest. So to have the amount go from 78 to 200 is the exact same amount that caused me to leave in the first place. But also my mind goes back to the fact that here we are. That was the end of July, right? Where I gave them this 500. I gave them this 500. August, September. Now going into October. So over 2 months have passed since they received the loan from me, and I still have not gotten any money back from it. Um, And I said, "Well, hell, you don't need me to give you $200. I mean, what happened to the 500 you were given. Oh, I paid this bill with it and I paid that bill with it. And then the bills they're talking about are like 141. So there's still some amount left over. Um, so Saturday ends up with me calling this same relative that got involved in the peace summit back in May, and this person like gets upset with me for doing it because I was trying to see if they could maybe talk to them, maybe smooth things over as they did before. But what I thought was crazy is this person tells me like, "Oh, don't call this person again." Don't da, da, da. And I think to myself, you're the same individual that involved them in this back when it when we got to our worst point in May. Um, so I'm slated to give them $200. I'm apparently never going to receive the money that was loaned to them, which was even higher than the amount that again, this is not a hard concept to get. You pay somebody 300 every month to stay somewhere, and then you have some car insurance that's like $78, and you pay both of those two things, and then someone turns around and says, "Hey, can you loan me $500? I'll pay you back." And then when you get charged with paying 200 for car insurance and say, "Hey, wait a second, where's the 500 I gave you?" "Oh, I spent this on this, I spent this on that. I used it for this, I used it for that." Completely just obfuscating from the fact that they told you they would pay you back, and there's no other term to use for this besides the fact that it was robbery in broad daylight. You had a person who said they would pay you back, and they did not. They lied, they obfuscated, and I even had to tell this relative yesterday. I said, "Hey, you were right. I tried to do something to assist them, and they used some really weaselly language." I mean, what this person does is that when they know that there's some kind of screwed up thing they're doing, they just hope that by not mentioning it, we'll all forget about it. So, like when they told me you'll be paying 500 at the start of May or whatever, they made this was at the end of of March. From the end of March all the way up until the beginning of that month after of April, they didn't say a word about this amount that they wanted me to pay because they knew that it sounded crazy, and they were probably hoping that I would forget about it, which I did not. But still was surprised anyways when they came up talking about Zell me $500. Like, I guess the part of this that I find the most insane because my heated exchange with them was not that long on Saturday. It only went for a few minutes. But what I thought was crazy is during the exchange, the person said that they had to force me to pay stuff. They had to force me to pay. And I was thinking to myself, how insane is it to live somewhere where every month, before the month even starts, I should say, you pay two bills on time, every time, month after month, month after month. And the one time that you're ambivalent or kind of like reluctant to pay something is when the price of that said something increases by almost 3 times what it normally is, and the other person does a piss poor job explaining why you need to suddenly give them 200. And also I want to say this too. This person, so I've said before, it used to be when I was like underage, I was a kid, people would say, "Oh, you don't pay anything, so like what you say doesn't matter," or whatever. Like, since you don't pay anything, your opinion, belief system, etc., just does not, it's not a thing that we need to worry about. But what drives me nuts is the idea that this person tells me to pay them basically a third of $1,000 every month, and then tries to like frame it as if they don't need me to pay these things, when if they didn't need me to pay these things, they would not have me paying them. It's like it would be like if I said, "Oh man, you pay um I don't know, 200 to keep the lights on in my place. I could pay that." Well, then why don't you? But it's really absurd um to have someone ask you to loan them money, and then they say they're going to pay you back, and for 2 months, right? They just will not mention this money they were loaned to you from. They will not mention it at all. August passes, no mention of paying you back. September passes, no mention of paying you back. The only two times they've even referred to this was when they were talking about how they had used some of it to pay this bill, and then the other part was when they brought it up yesterday, say they used it to pay two bills. It's And even if they did that, it still is total BS because you're talking about using the funds you were given by someone to pay unrelated things to that person. It would be one thing if they were like, "Oh, I used it to pay this bill that you normally." No, they still came and asked for 300 the exact next month, like, business as usual. So that's why I said this is some slimy stuff. I'm tired of them. Every month over here is just like a countdown to extinction. It's money this, money that, money, 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 and it's like it's gotten to a point where it's so disingenuous and fake, and everything is based around cheating someone out of something else. Like you heard of the Montreal screw job? We have our own in California. This is really insane. I mean, the idea that you give someone money as a loan that they say they're going to pay back, and then for like 2 whole months they won't say a word about it. Only when it's mentioned will they even acknowledge that it happened. And then they get to turn around and demand another several $100s from you as if they didn't just get. And that's the part that I just find so disgusting. Like, you were given funds both out of an appeal to my sympathy and out of again, like the seeming desperation of your situation, and then you take complete advantage of that by trying to pretend as if you were not given money that was not like owed by me, like was not part of some agreement that we had. So it's all just slimy stuff. People really have no sense of decency, like, at all. They just do whatever. I'm not kidding. They will. You have people who will sit here, and like I said, man, if I like to hear the rage out of this person's voice, to hear them talk about, oh, I have to make you do this, I have to make you do that, and it's like we're talking about someone who every month they receive what they want, um, with like no complaint from me at all. And when you give them something that you shouldn't have to give them because it's not owed to them, with the expectation based off of their own rhetoric that they will pay you back, and then they don't. I mean, what else you call it other than robbery in broad daylight? And all the stupid enablers of this person, I can already hear them in the back of my head. Oh, well, they had to use it for this. No, 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 no. When somebody tells you they're going to pay you back, that is a that is a. I mean, it's not hard to understand the very simple establishment via rhetoric of what the rules are of this loan. Someone's giving you money that you don't have at this point, and you're going to eventually give it back to them. You're not going to say, well, I will take these funds and appropriate them into various bills in the upcoming month. No, none of that took place. It was a very cut and dry. You give me this, I'll give you it back at some point. That was it. There was no Weasley language about how they will be allocated. It's just this is why I said every week with these people, there's like a new ugly turn in terms of what screwed up stuff they can do or find to complain about or have an issue with or obfuscate from doing. I mean, we saw this with the bottle saga. It's like here's this man whose only means of income, one of his very few means of income, is to take bottles and save them and then take them to the recycling place. And you get no help in doing this from anybody, right? But you're like, okay, I'll just put my stuff back here. And for months, no one complains, nobody has any problem with it until someone goes back there just out of, I guess, once every uh 3/4 of a year, and is like, oh, I don't like that these are inside of the shed. Then you take them out the shed, and then they're complaining that they're outside. um or rather that they're outside without being in bags that zip up or lock up, and you don't want to buy those bags because they're expensive. They're like $10, and why should you pay for $10 bags to save 13? Like, it's, just complete idiocracy, just borderline stupidity, right? But this is my thing. Every week and month, there seems to be just this piling up of absurd requests and ridiculous, like, points of contention. I mean, it should have been, and I even said, if we're talking about relatives that are sympathetic, because we've established for these people don't care about anything other than money. But I would dare to think, if I'm someone who is sympathetic to the fact that you have a person who does not have a support system, right? Every time I eat, I have to pay for my food. Every time I drive, so I have to pay for my gas. If I am a relative who is sympathetic to that person to at least some extent, I'm gonna probably try to do something to lessen the absurdity of what I'm asking them. So I could say, okay, look, this month you got to pay 200 for your car insurance, but look, I'll cancel out one of the other two bills you pay. So, you don't have to pay 160 for internet. So instead, you can just pay 360. It's a little bit of an increase, but it's not, it's like whatever. It's just this one. But they don't do things like that because they don't care. Nothing is based around conveniencing you or making sure that you can even afford to get yourself something to eat. I mean, this is just complete buffoonery. So yeah, Jem, I hope you've enjoyed hearing this story I call it this, and this was actually in the second part of the documentary on Johnson, where they were having some argument about lands that were owned by states, and they were talking about how Texas was like had people threatening to have it succeed from the union to keep these lands that they believed were state owned instead of government owned or federal government owned. And there was some bill that Johnson sponsored to keep them in place as a statewide, as a state-owned property, and Truman vetoed the bill and called it robbery in broad daylight. That's exactly what this is, where you have a person who comes to you in their moment of desperation, right? And they're like, "Hey, can you loan me this? I'll pay you back." And then for months, they won't mention this at all, right? Uh and then they come around sticking their hand out telling you to go and pay them even more money, and you're like, "Well, wait a second, what happened to the amount I gave you that was like twice as much as this?" "Oh, I used it to pay bills." So I'm never loaning anyone anything ever again. I don't care if they're my parent or my next or my Siamese twin or my cousin. Very bad situation. I am fighting as hard as I can to get out of it. These people have really taken advantage of the absurd cost of living around here. Um, and there's a lot of double speak. People saying one thing, doing the opposite. Absolutely taking advantage. I mean, I told you this is the same person that will have you drive somewhere that's 30 miles away and I give you 1 cent for gas. Actually, I didn't even get to mention this. So I have a mailing address that's not this, like, not where I stay or whatever. And when I went to this interview in another city, it was a 60-mile drive to go to this interview. 2 hours of driving. I'm tired. I'm looking forward to just kind of, you know, sitting back and relaxing when I get back to the place, just because I'm not used to drives that are that long, right? As I'm returning to the place, I get a call on my phone, and this person says, "Oh, this other person said you were going to come and get the mail." Now their place is about a half-hour drive from where here is, but then it's also an hour-long drive if you consider going to and back. And I said to them, "I'll pick it up on Monday or Tuesday. I'm too tired." Like, that's really because this person was aware that I was going to another city for an interview, and I told them that. So it's you get where it's like really insane that you had to drive 2 hours for this interview. And then as you're coming back from the interview, oh, now drive for another hour to go pick up some stuff I can get for myself. Like it's just it's insane, man. By the way, my favorite thing is their idea of helping someone to get a job is to just send you random links to different applications or now hiring signs or whatever. And this one place, it's some kind of like position at a school where I guess you help kids get on buses and like just like general management of behavior. And it's the type of job where if it were regular hours or even like semi part-time hours, right? Like, normal hours are 8 hours. So like let's say it was semi part-time in the sense of maybe 5, 6. It's something I would be kind of tempted to look into. But these people they're gonna have you Monday to Friday from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning. So you have a job where maybe you're getting paid 18 an hour, right? Maybe. But when it's only 3 hours of work, that's barely anything. Like you're gonna make what 200 a week, and then have this person by the end of the month tell you to give them 300, like or take like a whole half of that or a third of that. It's just it's nothing. It's nothing. So yeah, that's a job that if they actually were giving somebody some real hours, then maybe I would consider it. But I mean, I really hated the idea of having to work two jobs. Because a lot of these places are not right by each other. It's not like you can get off at 11 and go to the other job at 1 o'clock. Like it took a whole hour to even get down to where that other one was located. And it just seems like they don't understand that people, or I guess they just don't care. They just think you're supposed to just, yeah, work for 3 hours a day. That's definitely somebody can live off of. They told me to apply. I was like, yeah, I'll get right to that. So some of these job interviews are like turning into parodies of themselves. Like I mentioned when I went to the interview for the delivery driver position, and they had me put on a vest, and I thought it was just so weird that you had to wear something for an interview. It was like, what in the world? Like it was out of nowhere, right? So after putting on the vest, I'm just sitting here listening to the guy, and he's telling me about any other employee about what kind of stuff they need, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just like, if I don't get hired by you people, you had me put on your attire or a part of your attire for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Just weird, man. Just it is nuts. All of it's nuts. I actually woke up about an hour ago. Um and I had tried to go back to sleep because it's going to be another one of those types of days. I had this one interview at like 12:30 in like, 3 hours. Um that's a running gag where there will be a day where I go to sleep kind of late at 2 something, and then they're like, "Oh, it's still fine cuz it's like 7 hours until 9 o'clock." But even upon like it's like if I go to sleep earlier than I planned, I end up waking up earlier. Like I don't increase the number of hours where I sleep at all. And I even said before that, one of the things I find most obnoxious about all the different job interviews is that they're like all over the place, and some are on the computer and some are over the phone and some are in person. It just feels like you're just running around basically in circles with these places like, "Oh, hey, how are you? Welcome to our company," etc., etc. Jim, I'm gonna ask you for a loan of no, I'm gonna have you pay me 400 every month, right? And then I'm gonna ask you for a loan of 900 and be like, oh Jim, I'm gonna pay you back. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna pay you back. Then after you give me the 900, I'm gonna be like, Jim, I already used the 900 to pay these other bills. And you're like, well, wait a second. That other bill was 300. The other one was 300. What happened to the other 300 that you're now asking me to give you on top of what you were already given that I didn't even have to give you because it wasn't owed to you? Just a liar, man. Everything about this person is fibs and falsehoods and looking out for their own behind. It's really sad. They don't care if you don't eat. They don't care if you can't afford to. I mean, like I said, the whole point of it getting lowered was that I would be able to get food and other essentials, and it's like who the hell can do this when you just have bills that randomly increase by just I'm sick of this person. I really am. So yeah, that's why I gave the stream that title because that's exactly what this is: robbery in broad daylight. Somebody charging you for something, then asking you for a loan, and then when they charge you more than normal, or when you get charged more than normal for something else, they're like, "What loan? Oh, the loan that you gave me. Oh, I spent on something else, even though I said I would pay you back." Because my point in bringing it up is to say, okay, you're asking me for 200. What happened to the 500 I gave you 2 months ago that never got paid back? That you said you would pay back? So I said, man, it's all just slimy. And I already know no one will challenge them on that. No one will say what the hell was wrong with you. No, they all just a bunch of a whole cavalcade of enablers are going to be swarming around this person trying to excuse what they've done. Just like back in May. You love somebody, but you're fine with them being homeless. Yeah, that makes sense. Man, I'm telling you. As bad as last year was, I really didn't think we could get one even worse, but this one is definitely competing for that position. Where's that book I was going to show you? Oh. Remember, you're supposed to feel bad about getting a book for $3. Oh, by the way, the FDR one I told you about. Um, so I was contacted by the seller for that sold me those two books that never came on Roosevelt. And what they told me is that the packages could still arrive somehow. I doubt it. I don't believe that at all because it's been almost 3 weeks since those things were supposed to get here, and that's just I don't buy it. But they gave me a full refund, so I'm gonna try and get it from somewhere else or get those from somewhere else. Because like I said, that really did piss me off. Also, I was gonna tell you if we ever do one on Trump, I'm gonna use mostly online sources because it's kind of we were talking about this before, Jem, with the whole like Bush and Obama and the rest of them, like more current ones, or I guess more recent ones, is that we lived through it, so we don't really need to like go into some novel and dig up whatever. But if I do one on Trump, a full fledged documentary on him, this is the only book I'm gonna use as a source. It's the only one. The United States of Trump by Bill O'Reilly. That's the only one I'm gonna use. Because O'Reilly has known Trump for over 30 years. He is someone who really has no reason to make things up about him. and I think it'll be a good place to go from, because he frames it. I really like the narrative of this because it's not that long, a little bit over 200 pages. But what I like about it so much is that it really there's a framing device that O'Reilly employs of like, oh, it's this interview, and you're kind of like getting told more information as it goes. So I'm definitely only going to use that one. I guess I could also use the one that his niece wrote, but it has a real negative tint to it. Now, Jim, I know you expect nothing best from the no spin stream. I'm telling him, he's like, what I'll never get over is that O'Reilly was this big, huge Fox superstar for 20 years, right? From when Fox started all the way up until 2017, and then all these women came out like, he touched me, and then they Fox dropped him so fast. It was what a quick downfall that was. I'm not kidding. I'm never not astonished by how these like news anchors and these different TV personalities feel like a dime a dozen. Like, you had Don Lemon on CNN for like, I think 13, 14, 15 years, and then he does one interview that doesn't go well with Ramaswamy, and they just cut the umbilical cord. Dude, like, I'm serious, Jim. If there's one conservative commentator over the last 30 years I would consider doing a documentary on, like, not politician, right? Just someone who just is a personality on TV or whatever, it would be O'Reilly. Because he's, again, very close to Trump, has interviewed him over 30 times apparently, had interviews with both Obama and Bush. I mean, he was at the center of a lot of the current events of both the 2000s and the 2010s, and like, even like, he's not as big as he was back then because he's not on TV anymore, but he still finds himself getting roped into a lot of more current stuff. I mean, him and Trump were supposed to have some world tour apparently 2 years ago. So he's a very important person, I would say. Like it people everybody talking, oh, Tucker, but he's that guy was it's too early to even know if he's going to actually end up being anything of any significance. It's that show was on TV for like 6 years, and he got booted off, and now he's on Twitter, and we don't know what exactly the full range of his impact is going to be. So I always remember the killing books: killing Kennedy, killing Reagan, killing Jesus, killing Lincoln, killing the killers. I mean, just the whole series at the exact same. Just every book is someone's demise. The new one that came out, I think it's called Killing Witches. Uh, he's been promoting that in some of his more recent interviews across different platforms. But man, I remember the O'Reilly factor. I remember all the times that thing would come on, and it was a real shock to see him just gotten rid of as fast as it like it felt like just within a few months. Said, wow. Because that was around the same time that Megyn Kelly left. She wasn't fired. She just ran over to ABC and then got in trouble over that stupid daytime show that she had for like a year, and then now she's sitting on the radio with her. It was funny that she did an interview with Pence earlier this week, and I was thinking to myself, isn't it crazy that you have a vice president who is like despised, right, as this traitor, to the person he was under, being interviewed by the lady who, I mean, let's not forget she was at the center of Trump's aggression for like a solid third of that whole damn primary from the first debate. When you've called women you don't like pigs or whatever, all the way up until like January of the following year. That was like a 4 or 5 month feud. I'm just saying, I was just seeing the two of them together. I was thinking about how both of them are so closely connected. Like if you told me to write or make like a documentary on, well, rather, I'd rather like, let's just say somebody says do a book on Trump's 2016 campaign. You can't make an objective analysis of that campaign without mentioning Megan, because she was at the forefront of his scorn for like 4 or 5 straight months. Um, and she kind of like, yeah, she petered out and wasn't doing anything, when he was in office, but still, it's like that was a really crazy thing that this guy who ended up becoming president of the United States at the first debate in the primary, from then on until really voting started, just had a problem with you and like a specific disliking of you. I already told you before, Pence doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning the Republican primary, but I find his campaign so interesting just for the fact that it even exists. Like, you're gonna be the first vice president to run against the president they served under in over 80 years, and you're gonna try and convince people who want him back that they should pick you over him, even though they think you're a traitor because you didn't do something illegal. Like, I just find the whole campaign being a thing that he even thought was a good idea to be fascinating. I'll tell you, my favorite line was when he says, "We need a president who's not too young but not too old." It's like, dude, come on. We already know that if you lose this time around, and then Trump, which you will, and then Trump loses, and you don't think he's going to run again in 2028, you're going to be right back out here mulling another campaign. So let's not pretend age matters. No, I'm always like disturbed by just the way people act. Also on the back of here it says the book's retail price is $28. I got it for 7. So I'm telling you, man, all you need to do if you want some books for way, way, way less the price than what you would get in the regular store is just go online. I think I mentioned there was one seller who sold me a book for $1, and then with shipping it was like 3, and I said that's too good a deal to pass up. I said, "Geez, you must really want to be rid of this thing." Like, that was crazy. But no, I never had that problem with the seller before this year. Like, I've never ordered something from Amazon by a seller who wasn't Amazon, and then just the thing never arrived, Like, um the only other instance I can think of that is that there was some kind of figure that was from Japan that didn't come, but that was still different because that was in a foreign country, and I could realistically, and the thing really did never show up, and they repaid me in full, but it was like with this one, they're in the same country. Everything else that comes from these different sellers always gets here. So why is this particular one so crappy, It was just weird, and you're not going to see me order anything from anyone that's not them for a very long time. But I'm gonna see if I can get a at least another book on Roosevelt, because right now the only one I have is this one by Comrade Black. I mentioned on the last stream, but I wanted to have at least the Gene Edward Smith book, because that's the one that came out. I think it's 2007. Everyone talks about, oh, it's a definitive biography. Blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to get that one and work with both of them. It's really irritating when you have to reorder something, because all the time that passed the first time around is going to be added on to. Like, I could order it to the two that didn't come today, and they still probably wouldn't show up until like next week, like next Monday, next Tuesday. It's annoying, like just having to wait for stuff on top of how long you already waited. Yeah, it's just really unfortunate people are like this. No, I'm done with these insane people. They just every time you turn around, they're asking for you to do something for them, or get this or go here, and I'm like, all this stuff, all this help that's given to them, and what do you have to show for it? A bunch of people who get mad over dumb stuff, who still feel like they can. And I said before that I've been so fascinated by the duality of a lot of these relatives, where it's like, you're a kid when people want to tell you what to do, right? Like, if they want to tell you what you can wear, what you can or can't say, who you can and can't call, what you should eat, etc. But then you're an adult when they want to extort money from you and tell you that you can get out of here and all the rest of that, crap. So it's just a very interesting, almost like inability to reconcile with what you see this person as. Like, are they a kid that you can tell to do whatever you want, or are they an adult that you can just threaten to get rid of and not care about whatsoever? And that's why I said, every time since May that this person has said, oh, you shouldn't do this, or like anything that is framed around, I'm concerned about your well-being, it always comes off as a self-parody, because no one who's concerned about someone else would be fine with that person not having somewhere to stay, and also not even trying to like, for example, um my friend lives with his parents, so he couldn't let me stay there, even if he wanted to. But at least that's someone who called me, tried to see if I was all right, and did do me certain favors, like let me wash stuff at his place, for example, or warm some food. I mean, just like even like the little tiny semblance of, are you all right, and that's why I said that, like, I'm, you'll probably call me a whatever for saying this, but when I did my stream on Saturday, and there's like it's about an hour, and I have a part where I mute my mic because this person is like honking at me or kind of like signaling for me, and I got really nervous, because I was thinking, oh man, are they telling me to get out of here or something? Because I know I fear they didn't work for there, but it's like anytime somebody initiates a response to me, it's usually a bad thing. Um, but when the lady asked me if I was hungry and if I was all right, because she saw the stuff in my back seat or whatever, I was touched, because it's so rare that anyone inquires on my well being. If you could put it, spin it that way. So it's just, I really did have to like pause for a moment just to kind of take in what had happened, because it truly is not a common occurrence. God, imagine plagiarizing and winning a Pulitzer Prize for writing. It's really funny. We're gonna end up paying Jem to write my first biography. He's gonna have chapters on all the deceits and lies and cons and various other statements. Let me see, but also driving. I mean, it's fine. I don't expect you to just like turn off everything for you know my stream or whatever. I'm just sitting here contemplating stuff. Like I was thinking about how with part 4 of the Johnson documentary, um, after I eventually finish it, it would be really fascinating to kind of like probably either with probably the New York Times. They have an archive of all their articles. It'd be fascinating too because I think I mentioned before that part of me put off even wanting to do the Johnson one because Caro still has not written the 5th volume of his book series. This is supposed to be the final volume, and it's been over 10 years since the last one came out. So there's like no hope of it coming out anytime soon. Like I'm not even kidding when I say there is a solid chance that I will be deceased before that book gets released. That's how long it's taking for him to finish this thing. So I said for the presidency, we really only have one book, which is the second volume of Dalek's series, and the last one for Caro, the most recent one, which I think is Means of Ascent. Um, and those are the only ones we can really base the stuff that I'm writing off of, and that's why I said I feel like if he had put out that last volume, I would be so much more relieved because then I would have everything. I could, two full recaps of this man's life from beginning to finish over the course of 7 books. I could look at that and say, all right, this is good. This is a nice recollection of events. Because trust me, if we finish the pre-presidency stuff, I'll go back and read through Caro's series and then like see whatever I didn't put in there before and add some more details. I'm just saying I really wish he had finished the um the last volume. But since that doesn't look like it's coming out anytime soon, I'm just having to kind of like, I want to say substitute it, but not really. I'm not able to do as much as I would like. I'll put it that way. Like I don't have the two sources I would mainly like to have. It's so sad because it's like Caro has spent 40 years studying this man and it just seems like we're never going to get that thing finished. Honestly, I wish every major historical figure of the last at least of the latter 20th century had someone like Caro for them. Like I wish we had someone who did a 3-4 volume series on, Carter or Trump or whoever. Just I wish that we could get something similar to that with a lot of the other ones, but uh it doesn't look like we'll ever receive that, unfortunately. The last update was in December of last year. And we have no publication date set for it. So terrific. Yeah, good luck ever getting that thing finished. It's sad too, because it's like when you think about it, there probably are people that read Volume One that which came out back in, I believe it was 1982, and passed away between when Volume One came out and when the subsequent ones came out. Just because of how long it's taking. But no, the earliest I would even contemplate trying to do Roosevelt would be if I did all the stuff before LBJ's presidency. That would be the one jumping off point to try somebody else. But I still probably would try to finish Johnson before tackling another subject because I've had bad experiences in the past with just like trying to do multiple things at once, and it really it's like there's a kind of a what's the way of putting it? It's like there's an effect where when you try to do multiple things at the same time, they all cancel each other out. So be mindful of that. Or I'm always mindful of that, I should say. Still think it would be funny to do Bush after Johnson. Like, well, let's go from one of the best to one of the worst. I'm trying to think what I would even need for Bush. His memoir. I'm forgetting it's. I think it's Decision Points or something to that effect, and then probably some other person's biography of him. Like I said, the problem with oh, what's the other book? The by the Helter Skelter lawyer, Vincent Bugliosi. It was called like the prosecution of George Bush. I that would be another one to probably look into because that's one of the problems with the early 2000s, which is that there's a lot of people who have kind of like a nostalgia for that time period. And it was a fun time to be around. I mean, the internet was advancing, all these social media sites starting to pop up. We were getting some openings of like various movie franchises. I mean, there were things that genuinely were good that started happening at that point, but the problem is everyone is so nostalgic for that time period that they forget, or I guess don't want to remember that at the same time as we had, those advancements, if you want to call them that, we also had the beginning of the longest war in American history, the subprime mortgage crisis, Hurricane Katrina. I mean, just a cavalcade of bad stuff that was just popping off seemingly every other year. No, people get nostalgic for things and they just let it blind them entirely. They're like, "Oh yeah, there was that thing that happened that was not good." Yeah, I remember too. It was bad. It's like people just they get nostalgic for stuff and they forget a lot of the bad things that happened. Like there's a lot of times where I think about 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and it's like while I'm nostalgic for the people that were around at that time, there are other things that I didn't like. I didn't like that back then there were a lot of lies that were told about, oh, this person cares about you. And, back then I was more susceptible to believing it. Whereas now it's all just like, yeah, I don't buy this. Sorry, buddy. No, no, no deal. You're not getting me to go quietly into the night on this one, pal. So I said people always want you to just buy into something with no basis to even believe in it. Just, well, I did this, so go ahead and worship me. Subscribe to my belief system because I tell you to. Let me well, if you're able to hear me, you should, I mean, then we should be good, but let me just make sure because there's always little weird stuff that happens during streams. Like, I still can't believe I went up to that Starbucks like any other old Saturday, and you go up there. There's always a little like what's it a pop up that'll appear and it'll say, hey, you sign in, whatever. I do that. It says you're connected, and for whatever reason, and I do mean for whatever reason, because I still don't know why it was acting like this. It just wouldn't appear. It's just it's that's why I said there's too much technological issues for my taste. Like, it's so hard to believe you live in this advanced society, and then at every turn there's like, oh, your computer's acting up, oh, your phone is acting up, oh, this device is not able to hold, I don't know, 60 gigabytes of space or whatever. It's just at every turn there's some kind of obnoxious feat. Okay, let me see. Just to make sure. Yep. By the way, speaking of robbery in broad daylight, there's going to be some convention. I'm forgetting its name, but Sam Raimi is going to be there, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I can meet the director of the Spider-Man trilogy. Great!" And they have a thing called photo ops, and photo ops are basically, in my opinion, they're supposed to be professional pictures that you take with whoever the you know famous person, quote unquote, is. Um, I am not really a fan of having to. So again, like it depends. Like, some people that were there, like 40, 50, they want $90 to take a picture with him. So just because he when I went to the other one, they didn't mention like, hey, you can take pictures with these people at their booths or whatever, right? So I ended up getting the other one without knowing that you had this like cheaper option. Uh but you get my point of like they want $90 just to stand next to this man. Maybe he puts his hand on your shoulder, maybe you're close by, whatever, but $90 for a photo. You will make money on your content. You say that, Gem, but like I said, it's been a very difficult year with a lot of like twists and turns and pay for this, pay for that, pay for this, pay for that, and I'm really tired of just the advantages that seem to be taken on my like on as far as relating to my end. Like when you have to, It's just been a difficult time period, man. And I've tried to still do stuff, put out content here. Um, the Johnson documentary was something I'd been wanting to do for literally years. I'm glad I got around to doing a version of it, even if it's not complete. Whatever, we're still cranking out pieces each every couple of weeks. But I gotta tell you, it's just hard to really feel like things are getting any better when you see a lot of the stagnation and just like at every turn, it's the same old, you know, race to the bottom of like, hey, give me this, give me this, give me this, give me this. So yeah, I hope you're right because it has not been easy. And like I said, next year is going to be a big year for the documentary related stuff because it's the 100th anniversary of both Carter and Bush 41's births. So I want to do something to commemorate the occasion because I like both of them. Oh, and let's not forget next month your hero is putting out her book, Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG as she calls herself. Uh, and I'm still laughing at Winning Team Publishing. That's the name of the publishing company, Winning Team. Like you guys, like every person that is on, I'm not kidding. Their thing. I can't see what they're winning. Like Trump lost his bid for a second term. That Carrie Lake lady lost her bid for governor and now is going to apparently run for senator and probably whether she wins or loses say it was or rather if she loses say it's rigged. um I mean, what exactly have they won? I'm telling you, man, everybody has a book. Like Bobert has a book. In a month, Marjorie Taylor Greene's gonna have a book. Liz Cheney is putting out a book. Ilhan Omar has a book. And that's just in the House, man. Like this lady in the Senate, Klobuchar has multiple books. Harris has a book. Sanders has books. Booker has a book. Gillibrand has books. Or a book. Rokana has books. Everyone is just popping these things out left and right. But it makes sense because it's probably one of the easiest ways to enrich yourself without really putting that much. Because like if I write something, for example, I have no staff. I have no team of people that can just sit down and, type something out for me and put my name on it. I have to, write the thing myself. Um, I told you DeSantis's book, not the first one, the new one that came out this year, was so boring. I am dead certain that someone else wrote that for him because there's no way you could try to run for senator and then be like, nah, and just not mention that in your political memoir. Like that's not something that is normal. And I just don't believe he would like forget that. I think someone else who wrote that probably forgot it because it didn't happen to them. But it was bad, man. It was not good at all. And like I said, I have no problem acknowledging when conservative writers have like a decent style of writing. Like, you know, O'Reilly, who has put out over 15 bestsellers, he can write pretty well. He's got help from this other guy more often than not, but still, it's like this isn't about my political affiliation. Like, I'm not a Republican, but I read Nixon's memoir. I thought it was really well written. Well, you get what I'm saying, right? That it's a way for them to make money without having to do something that would be it's kind of like how when Biden became vice president, his net worth was like $20,000. He was one of the poorest members of Congress. But guess what? After he became VP, all those paid speeches to Wall Street and all the other firms that want to hand you a $500,000 for flapping your gums for 2 hours. Now he's what, got 9 million, 10 million, $8 million. That's not normal. You don't live modestly until you're like 60 something, and then all of a sudden, oh, you reminded me of Christie. I've had enough. I've had enough of listening to a guy up here that sounds like Chat GPT. So I'm still, somebody needs to write a book on Christie, like not even just like a biography, but just a history of his two presidential campaigns, and like really mention the fact that during the first Republican debate, all the way back in 2015, ran the senator right from Kentucky. He's like, I don't trust the president with our records. I know you gave him a big hug, and if you want to give him a big hug again, go right ahead. And now Ramaswamy resurrects that line. Give me a hug like you gave Obama. Help me get elected like you did Obama. Dude, that was awful. Like, out of all the lines, out of like all the things to insult him over, like not closing the bridge down, not saying that immigrants should be tracked like FedEx packages, which I even forgot about that when they brought it up during the second debate. But it's like, you're really gonna go after him for hugging the, like, you know what, man? These people just running for president is almost like just being in a years long employment in a circus. I mean, there's almost no focus on issues. The attacks are clownish at best. Remember, we had the second Republican debate, and they were over here talking about uh arguing about curtains. Like, just it's weird, man. But no, everybody has a book. And I don't care when the commentators write them, because that's their thing, right? They get paid to type up, their talking points and put it in the form of a novel. But the rest of these people, they're just trying to make some money. Like Ramaswamy put out Nation of Victims and Woke Inc. and all the rest of that. It's like, yeah, you just want some coins ahead of your campaign. So if Trump wrote a memoir, I would buy it, because if he actually writes one, like, and it's written in his type of voice, I would get it. Not something where he sits at his desk and then a person slaps their name on it. So I'm still laughing at the letters to Trump book. It's like, imagine being so lazy and yet so famous that you can just make a book where all you do is um just basically fill it with a bunch of correspondence between you and other famous people from before you became a politician, where they're all giving you a tongue bath as like some great person, because they don't know what type of policies you're going to pursue in the years to come, and like putting your name on that and be like, I'm an author. It's like, no, you're not. You're a person who has letters with other famous people. This is basically like an official scrapbook. Just like when he showed the letter from Ted Kennedy, I was like, man, you're so lucky that he wasn't around by the time you actually became a relevant political force, because he would be one of the first ones talking about how screwed up you are. I could just hear his voice. Donald Trump is saying And then you already know you would hear, Trump's insults. Well, I didn't do Chappaquiddick. He doesn't mention Chappaquiddick. You know, he has a lot of rage for me, but not Mary Jo Kopechne. You already know that's how their back and forth would go. Like, if there's one politician from the past, I wish you could have like put in that 4 year Trump period, it would have been Kennedy, because it would you would have gotten some really passionate, angry speeches from an 80-year-old man, and it would have been classic. It's just like when Robert Byrd was up there talking about the I believe it was Iraq, and I'm forgetting the context, but I remember it became like a meme because he was like, "This is barbaric," So you would get something similar to that if Kennedy hadn't succumbed to that disease, or ever got that disease to begin with. I'm not even kidding. If I ever eventually get to do, like, if I do a documentary on one senator, it'll be him. But if I ever eventually was able to, like, for example, do, what's a good way of putting it? Um I think before I was going to do like a legacy video where it just goes over the person's impact, just me talking about them off the cuff, or maybe with some notes. I was going to say that Kennedy's passing in 2009 is really where we start getting into the hyper partisan era that we're arguably still in. I mean, you had the year, not even, yeah, like a year after Kennedy's death, you had McConnell say that the most important thing for the Republicans to do was to make Obama a one-term president. So you could argue that his absence from Congress is like a big factor in why the place is as broken and unworkable as it is nowadays. Oh man. So Jem, if you want to take a picture with, damn, I saw your Saturday stream. I hope you enjoyed it. So Megumi, I've been really busy this week. I've had 4 interviews in 5 days for that last week. Um, but I'll probably what do you call it? I've got the decline on the back burner. If I can just get a day this week where I don't have to drive over here, drive over there, I'll probably see about editing it. Well, it wasn't very pleasant to do. I mean, I drove up to one Starbucks like I normally do, the what I usually go to, and their internet is like acting up. So then I had to drive to another one, um, and like park somewhere that's not as comfortable for me because it's just not a place I'm normally accustomed to being in, and kind of like rattle off stuff. But this one isn't too pleasant either. I mean, you weren't here. You probably would have to watch from replay. I'm gonna try to break this down for you as much as I can. So same garbage relative, right? Back in at the end of July, they asked me for a loan of $500. I felt a little bit bad for them because they were not going to work, whatever. So, when you give somebody a loan, you're supposed to pay them back. It's quite simple. Megumi, give me $100. I'll have it back to you. I'll pay you back. So then you're expecting me to then give you $100 back because you loaned it to me. I've been on car insurance with them for a few months, and each month it was $78. And this month it shot up to 200, which is like 3 times damn near what it normally is. So they come on Saturday, literally right after that stream ended on Saturday, right? They called me. I didn't pick up because I know every time they call me, it's something bad. It's never hi, how are you, whatever. It's always them demanding something, asking for something. It's all everything is about themselves. So they send me a text message and they're like, "Oh, I need you to pay give me 200 because the insurance has increased to 430." So I was like, "What?" And my mind immediately flashes to, "Wait a second. I had to pay this person 300 every month, right? For the last several months. And and now it's been over 2 months since I gave them that $500 loan and they still have not paid me back for it." So you would think they could say, "Hey, you know what? You gave me 500 a few months back when you didn't have to, so I'll pay this or I'll use that or whatever and take it out, whatever." So instead of that, they tell me when I'm in the bathroom because they come back to the place as I'm using it. They can't wait for me to come out for some reason. They're in some big rush. But they say that they spent it on a bill that was like 140, which I said, okay, well, where's the other 300 plus? Oh, I spent on this other bill. And I'm just thinking to myself, so what you have here is an extremely screwed up situation where you gave somebody some money that you didn't have to give them because they were struggling or their sob story, right? And they are trying as hard as they can they to ignore that they owed you something and to also try to get more out of you. And it's nuts because again, like imagine you pay Megumi, let me simplify for you just so you can like put yourself in this position. Let's say every month you and I agree you're going to pay me 150 and you do that every month, right? And after you give me 150, I go, Megumi, can I borrow um $450 or excuse me, $350 from you? And you're like, okay, but and I say I'm gonna pay you back, right? So you keep paying this 150 every month, and then I say, Megumi, the 150 has gone up to 300 this month. So you're gonna need to give me this much instead. And you're like, well, wait a second, what happened to the 350 I gave you that will cover this? Oh, I spent it on a bill. It's like, but you told me you were going to give it back to me. Like I said, that's the reason why the title of this stream is robbery in broad daylight. Total scammers. They're not good for their word. Their word is as good as paper in a thunderstorm. I mean, it is just liars, man. That's all they know how to do. Say one thing, do the opposite. Yeah, they haven't paid you back that money you lent them. A loan is meant to be paid back. Oh no, they meant when they said they had paid back, they were going to distribute it and allocate it among several bills in the following month. I told you, man, it's you can't trust anything. And like I said, I've never gone up a day in my life and asked someone for money. Like I've never put out my hand and said, "Hey, can you lend me this? Can I borrow that, etc." Because uh I'm not that's one of the reasons why I stopped going to college. I said I'm not going to take out a bunch of loans that are going to take me 10, 20, 30 years to pay off for some piece of paper. They are extracting more money from you without even paying you back the money you lent them. Yeah, and that's why I was as upset as I was on Saturday because and again this was after the stream, but it's like you gave someone money that you did not owe them. So they owe you money, but now they're asking you for another 200, another more money that is like that if they actually gave you back what they owed you would pay off the thing that they're now asking you for. I'm telling you, man, these people have the most backwards logic you've ever seen. Oh, by the way, Megumi, your favorite director, I'm not even saying it like as a joke. Sam Raimi is going to be in, I think, Ontario, some part of California, my state, in like a week for a convention where you can get your picture taken with them. Guess how much it costs to take your picture with him? Because look, when I saw him at the thing, I was like, oh man, you can go and meet Raimi. Guess how much it costs just to take a photo with Mr. Sam. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm just to go to these conventions, you have to really damn near be a millionaire. It's not even funny. Like, or they could just scrape 1 month of payment from you or something since they don't want to pay you back your money. Well, that was my point. That it'd be one thing if they said, okay, you give me 500 now, and guess what? Next month, free. They don't do that. They go, oh, thanks for giving me this. Now let me close my mouth about it for the rest of until you ask me directly. Thanks, Jem. I appreciate it. Like I said, part 4 will come out. I just have to you know what? Megumi, you were really close. It's $90. Actually, you know what? You're technically correct because remember I told you how when I went to that convention last Saturday to take a picture with this actress that wasn't the one at her booth was like 70. It was 70 for the picture by itself. Then it was like another $10 just to get the digital copy of it, which I still think is absolutely insane. So it's 90 to get a picture with him, and then it's probably assuming it's that, and it is that same place, another 10 to get the digital copy. Man, I tell you, imagine living in an era where if you just want to take a photo with someone, $100. Not even like something like, you know what? This person is gonna, I don't know, record me a message, or because that's what they do on Cameo, for example. But damn, man, like all they do is just charge and like again, I don't mind paying something. And I even said before, I'm very sympathetic to the prices they put on their autographs because people take them and blow up the prices online. That's something I've seen a million times over. But God, they're just so nuts. Like they charge you amounts that are, I mean, think about this. If you like in a state where gas is higher than any other one in the whole country, right? It's like $7 for 1 gallon of gas almost. You're supposed to also pay for a ticket to that convention, and you're supposed to also pay for this picture with this, because remember, at least at the other event you could say it was my ignorance that caused me to spend 80 more because I didn't know you could get a photo with that person at their booth. um but man, like and also I want to clarify, they said outright he's not taking photos with you outside of this. So if you go to his booth and you ask for a picture, you will be denied. So you have to pay $90 just to stand next to this man in the picture. That's very scummy due to the amount is being yeah. And remember, man, sometimes when people go to these conventions, they're flying from other states, other countries. So like imagine if you, I'm gonna give you an example. There's a lot of conventions that happen in Texas. I've never been to Texas. It's a state I want to go to at some point, but it's not close to California. I'd either have to drive for like 2 or 3 straight days to get over there or fly over there. It's too far away. Um, but imagine if, for example, I flew to Texas, which would be let's say $500 at a minimum, just 500 straight up. Now, when I fly to Texas, I also need a hotel room because I don't know anyone that lives out there. Certainly, no one that's going to let me stay with them. So that's going to be another, let's say 400 at minimum. Okay, just to stay at the hotel. So before you've even stepped foot in the convention, you have already spent almost damn near $1,000. And I mentioned at the convention I went to, I was like, it was what is this? Okay, I read it. I said thanks to Jem, but it's like it's 60 to go to the convention, that other convention, 2 days. It's 30 if you want your parking paid for, right? Paid parking, $90. So before you even step foot in there, already $100. But that's why I said these people don't care, man. Like they don't. If you had to fly yourself out here, if you had to book a hotel room, yeah, yeah, and dude, like it's not even just the transactions or like them trying to get paid or whatever. It's the stuff they charge you for. Like if somebody's going to spend $60 to go and sit up in this stupid building, parking should be free because like you're already making. I mean, think about it. If two people, like, think about it. If two people pay for tickets for each one of them, that's $120 for both days. Why do they need to give you an extra 30 just to park their car? If someone pays 60, $70 to stand next to someone in a damn photo. Why do they need to pay another $10 just to get a digital copy of it? So I'm not against being charged something, but it's like the prices just start getting ridiculous. I don't think anyone should be charging $90 for anything at those cons. So, oh, charge me, yeah, $90 so you can stand next to me in a picture. A picture that, by the way, I couldn't even frame up over here if I wanted to because there's so little space to even put anything. I actually said the picture that was 40 with like that was taken on my phone looks better to me than the one that was taken in their booth. Like the booth one is I don't really like the way that the camera made my complexion. And these are things that honestly shouldn't have a charge on either. No, but they look for any way they can to price something. Like when I saw that they had a free charging station with that came with its own like cords or whatever, I really thought that they were gonna like if I use my own charger, but I thought that they might actually try to be like, all right, well, you charge your phone for an hour, so give us $5, $10, because at every turn they're trying to squeeze as many pennies out of you as they can. So I really like Raimi. I'd say he's one of my favorite directors, but I'm not paying $90 for a photo with him. Maybe if it were 40, 50, even 60, but again, man, like that extra 30 or 20, that's like that's like a half a tank of gas. Like there's just so much more essential stuff I can get for $90 that I just don't. I mean, hell, you could probably buy every movie Raimi's directed for $90. Yeah, I wouldn't pay that much either. That'd be the funniest thing if I paid 90 for that photo and then I milked it for all it was worth. I was like, all right, this is my new avatar on every website. It's like we're gonna use that. We're gonna exploit that 90 to its fullest potential. God, man. I can't wait for the convention that Maguire goes to where they're like, "Oh, you want to stand next to him? Give us 200." I've actually never heard of him charging fans to take photos with him, but he doesn't do conventions anyway, so maybe that's the reason. That's always the most fascinating thing to me about celebrities and like pictures with them. It's like there's a whole bunch of them that unless you ran into them like while they were walking down the street or whatever, you would have no way of taking a photo with them of just anything. Like you would never even see them. I definitely want a picture of me and him together, but having to pay a huge price. Well, I'll tell you what, if you ever come here and want to take a picture of me, it'll cost you USD zero. Like it's already enough to even have to like fly over here, but then to like on top of that be like, hey, so thanks for spending $900 just to come to this place where I am. If you want a photo with me, that'll be $40. If you want an autograph with me, that'll be $60. If you want a photo and an autograph, that'll be $80. And if you the ego on people, I'm really not even kidding. I feel like I could actually be in movies that have made millions of dollars, and I still wouldn't be comfortable being like, you want to take a regular old picture with me off your phone? Okay, $40. I'm just saying my ego would never even amount to that. Like if I was paid, for example, to make a video or perform some other type of service, that's one thing. Or even if you charge for an autograph, I'm like, all right, give me $10 or something, like whatever. Cause it's something that you could sign and then another person will charge even more for it. But it's like just to stand next to somebody who's been in a movie you like, directed a film you like, been in a TV show you liked, whatever, $40. $60, $80, $90. They are allowed to do it. So it's like, why wouldn't they give to temptation of getting quick money from fans? But you understand where it's like you can't tell me, because like I get where, again, people want to make money, right? But you can charge stuff and not have it be ridiculous. They don't need to be genuine or have a conscience. No, everything is about squeezing as much coins into my pocket as possible. To hell with whatever bills you have to pay, to hell with whatever. Like I said, I went to that event and I thought to myself, all these people are here and I'm supposed to give you 40 just to stand next to you in a picture. Like I said, some people up there weren't even charging for autographs and photos separately. Like, that's why I said, like, it's just everything is me, 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 me. That's why when I got the picture, when I got that photo, man, I'm telling you how it went. I gave the guy the money. I gave him my phone. I went to like the corner of the table where the actress was sitting down, and I looked at the phone. I was thinking that, he's probably gonna take one while I'm standing up, she's sitting down, whatever. She got up, put her arm around my waist, said something to me like, "How are you doing?" or whatever. And I said, "Fine." I didn't even look at her. My head was turned like this, like she's right here. I'm right here. I say, "Fine," kind of like we're trying to do like a half smile, whatever. She can't see my face. Took the photo. It all took place in less than 1 minute. Um, got the phone back from the guy. Asked them when the other picture would take place. They both answered me at the same time, and then I waited up there for the other picture, took that, and then left right after taking it. So that was my whole exchange with her. Because, like I said, I've never deluded myself into thinking that celebrities care about me and they want to get to know me. And, when they ask, "How are you doing?" it's anything other than basically icing on the non concern Sunday. Because I'm going to tell you something. If I, for example, were to ask somebody how they're doing and they say not good, I would inquire and go, "Hey, what's wrong? Let's actually sit here and speak about this for 5 minutes, 3 minutes." Not, again, they're up there for like 7 or 8 hours, so they're getting paid anyway. But it's like, yeah, I don't engage in small talk because they don't. No one gives it. Like, dude, I'll sit here whether you saw Jem donate and I thanked him for it, but like whether someone donates or not, almost every time I stream, I'll sit here for 2 whole hours at a minimum, unless no one just shows up or something happens, I get interrupted. So you can, in that 2 hours, theoretically speak about whatever thing is affecting you, etc. But with these people, once they get their coins, they put up the facade of, "I'm very interested in you. How are you?" etc. etc. They don't care. If they didn't get that money, they wouldn't even look in your direction. You wouldn't be an ant in their zoo. Hell, forget a harem. You wouldn't even be a pair of let me think of something else. You would be to them what like a broken off tree branch is to a neighborhood. It's like it's just this little annoying pest that's in the way that everybody wants to get rid of. I hate that, and it's a tough reality to swallow. Well, you just have to accept that to them you don't matter. You can have a bunch of money. You can have the accolades of your community. You can be a nice person, whatever. But unless you have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers online, or you pay this person something, 9 times out of 10, they are going to pretend you don't even exist. It's the reality. On her website right now, you can go there, pay over $100 for a calendar that she signed. And guess what? She'll record a video thanking you and, "Oh, I appreciate you so much." But you know that if you didn't spend for this thing, wouldn't even be acknowledged. So I said everything is just money related. Even the most small stuff like stand next to me in a photo. And it's not like it's a little bit of money, it's $40. Like, dude, $40. I hope you understand, Megumi, $40 is about the amount I take to eat each week. So like I get these wieners from the market and they have a deal where it's it's 2 for 4. So these packs rather have 8 inside, and you can get 16 for $4. And usually one of those by itself will fill me up for a whole day if I eat one in the afternoon and another one at like the evening hours. I have soup. I can get eight cases of soup for $10. Um, there's also fries. I can get a whole pack of fries, a big pack of fries that I can just eat that by itself for is big enough to does make a difference. Like again, if she had charged $10, even 20, you wouldn't see me complaining. Hey, they have to make something. You know, they're flying all over the world, but that's why I said it's all about enriching yourself. I was in this movie that everybody loves, or people like, or that are here, so they're gonna pay me just to stand next to them. Yeah, you can spend that money on so much more essential stuff. Dude, you can even spend that money on non-essential stuff and still be better off. Like I'm not kidding. All the books I get, for example, this one. On the back it says, you probably can't, yeah, because it's backwards, but it says $28. I got this for $7. And it's a clean copy too. It looks like it just came off the shelf. Like it's never been read before. So if I can buy 5, 6, 7 books that would probably keep me content and interested for, let's say, a solid month or several months, you really think I'm gonna sit here and be like, well, I guess I'll trade these for the photos with the pretty lady that doesn't even know my name. Like I said, man, I'm not even joking. If I knew that you could go there and get your picture taken without like having to pay almost $100 for a damn PNG JPEG file, I would have, because I showed up early to that thing, right? I was there when the doors opened. And actually in the photo you can see what time it is. Like it was taken, the event opened at 11 o'clock and the picture was taken at 11:16. So like I was one of the first people that, and I'm not trying to brag, but like that's just the reality. I was one of the first people that took a picture with her. If I knew that you didn't have to pay for the other one, I would have taken the photo with her at the booth and then just probably left right after that. I would have said, hey, you know what? It's nice to look at these other people. It's nice to see some other outfits, whatever, but everything up here is money, 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 money. And I got the main thing I was looking for. So now that we've done it, that's it. I'm not even joking. I almost want to go to another convention that she's at in like this, not even like, oh, I'm gonna wait, for that same one, like anything about me. Like if I will be shocked if she even has like the faintest idea of like, you look familiar. Because she did that on that day when I came for the second image and they have you like walk through this booth. She was like, oh, you. But I would be shocked if like in not even like a decade later, just within the span of 3, 4, 5, 6 months, let's say, if she even remembered who I was, the hair on the back of my head would stand up. If there's even like a slight kind of like inkling of this person looks familiar. I would just be completely amazed if that were the case. But again, if it isn't, I wouldn't be surprised because that's the nature of this stuff. If only that would honestly be really cool. I'm not even joking. I have such a low opinion of these people that, like, as far as their actual liking of fans as seeing us as anything other than walking, talking dollar logos, that I was actually surprised that she even remembered me on that exact, like it had been about 3 or 4 hours from when the first one was taken to where I was actually shocked that she remembered who I was when I saw her again later that day. Like that's how faint and vague everything is, where you just expect people to just have such like bare bones memories that they can't even recall, like, oh yeah, I saw you a few hours ago. I'm not kidding, dude. When I went to that event and I walked into the like epicenter of everything where they have all the tables with the different actors, there's no like directory. Like, I didn't know for sure if that was where they, because they had some that were outside as well of that place. Man, when I was, like, walking and I stumbled across her table and she was, like, signing some stuff, was, like, looking down. I actually did go like this for a second and pause because I'll admit I was starstruck. I was just it was I guess I'll put it like this. When you expect someone to be somewhere, but then you don't really know where exactly they are, and then you're kind of like you're not walking aimlessly, but you kind of there's like a general direction of where you're walking, and then you see them. It's I mean, it's just one of those things where I had to like regain my composure because again, like they don't tell you where each specific person is going to be. So I'm just walking in the middle of the section, just like let me actually can I I got this cord right here. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna do my impression of it. I get up and I'm walking, right? Walking, and then all of a sudden I look for because her stuff thing is like at the end of the row. So like when the rows are peering out, you can see the sections and they're in the middle. And I see her name on the banner, and I look on the side and I go like that because it took me by complete surprise. Like I knew she would be there. I just didn't know where she was. And you know, must have been a huge it was because I'm walking in this general direction, just kind of like scanning through the rows, like, okay, there's that person, there's and then you look forward and there she was. I'm not kidding. I took a picture of like when I because again the event started at 11 o'clock and the event had only been going for for 7 minutes when I went in there and stumbled across her table and then like did my reaction like, oh damn, that's her. And I stood right in that line and I had a guy who was he asked me if I was in line. I offered to let him cut me because I was just like trying to regain my composure. And I'll fully admit to you that I was nervous. But at the end of the photo, I did work up the courage to ask when the hell is the other one so I can get my I can get my picture and get out of here. I think that's funny. Like you like from the second the thing starts, you're like plotting your escape, like your exit. I wish I could have recorded that, like like just the non-verbal cue of like, I guess this person is somewhere in here, and then you look forward and there they are, and there she was. As you know, you might not know this, but because you live out of the country, but a lot of